60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
Listen to this, quote, "From all indications, Buhari's thesis of securing the country by appointing only his countrymen to man the key security arms has suffered a severe setback. It has failed, but he needs to do an urgent rethink so as to retool the security architecture of the country and reduce the prevailing agony." End of quote. Well, hello and welcome to the program. I'm Angela Ajetunmobi. My host today is a former president of the Commonwealth Journalists Association, former chief executive officer of Newswatch Communications Limited, former editor-in-chief of Newswatch magazine, former chairman of the Newspapers Proprietors Association of Nigeria, and a columnist with Nigeria's Guardian newspapers. His Tuesday column is a must-read for most Nigerians. Ray Ekpu joins me on the program today.
Thank you.
I want to start from your article, which was trending during the week, titled "The Failed Thesis." One of the major points you made in that article was that if the president would step back and reflect, he would notice that those who have done the greatest havoc to his legacy have been the people territorially close to him. And you mentioned three examples: that of the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, versus the Director General of the Department of State Security, Daura. You mentioned the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, and his rough tongue. Those were the words you used. And of course, that of the former chairman of the Pensions Task Force, Abdul Rashid Maina. Rationalize these three examples for us and why you said, what you wrote in the article.
Thank you very much. You see, the acting chairman of the EFCC has been rejected twice by the Senate. Why? Because there was a damning report sent by the Department of State Security Service.
Yes.
And who mans that department is a man called Daura. He's from Daura, the same town as the president.
Yes.
You would have thought that he would send his report to the president, and the presidency would coordinate it and send it to the Senate. He sent it direct to the Senate. And that damaged the possibility of this being confirmed by the Senate.
Yes.
And twice the president submitted it, and twice the Senate has held on to that report in rejecting this man. So he continues to be called acting chairman. So there's a bit of disconnect in the administration because normally the DSS is a department in the executive. It's under the executive.
Yes.
They should have sent their report to the presidency. They will coordinate and send with the recommended person to the Senate to clear.
Is it a factor to consider the stories that we hear that possibly there had been tension prior to that between the DSS boss and the acting chairman of the EFCC? Hence, he deliberately didn't go through the presidency.
Possibly. If he did that,
yes,
he's sabotaging the president. Why didn't the president fire him, even if he's from the same town with him?
Yes.
Because It's a minus for the president to send a candidate twice to the Senate and twice the Senate rejected the president's. So I would fire a guy like that, but he's unable to do it.
Yes.
Because it comes from the same village or local government with him. I am sure that someone who came from somewhere else, he would have considered it a grievous offense.
Yes.
And they would probably have punished him. The second one is the former secretary to the government of the Federation, Mr. Lawal. He said to the Senate, you are talking balderdash. An institution like the Senate, whether you like the faces of those who run it or not, it is an institution. You dare not insult the institution. Were you insulting that institution on behalf of the presidency? You were not. He was just enacting his own personal agenda. And that hurts the president because the Senate took it as an affront. The Senate committee invited him to appear on an investigation of allegation against him. He refused to attend, and he sent a representative. The Senate refused to entertain the representative because they said it's a personal issue. It's not a corporate issue, it's not a government issue. It's you.
Personally, yes.
And then he said that he was not given fair hearing. And the president set up a committee headed by the Attorney General and Minister for Justice to investigate it, and the committee came up with a report saying that the man did not get fair hearing. But fair hearing means that he was not asked to give his own opinion.
But he was invited.
That's right, he was invited. If you decline the invitation, you have refused to take the opportunity given you. So there is fair hearing. If somebody gives you a query and you refuse to answer, it's your problem.
Yes.
There is fair hearing.
Yes.
So the public did not accept the president's exoneration of this man, and they keep clamoring for him to be punished. And the Senate said he must be punished. And then the president set up another committee headed by the vice president. The Attorney General was also a member, and I think a few other members. The report was submitted after the president came back from medical vacation, and this man was eventually removed from office because of public pressure. It's not been tried. Nobody's saying anything about that. On the case of corruption, the president is an anti-corruption crusader. So people are saying, well, you are discriminating in this matter of corruption. You should have no foes and no friends in this matter, so that your pursuit can have credibility. Meanwhile, it's damaged the relationship between the president and the Senate. And of course, the minor case is a whole basket of mess around him. The minister, who's from his part of the country, went to go and see an alleged criminal in Dubai with government funds. He went to have a meeting with him and arranged how he would be brought back. Whether you like the government that punished him for whatever crimes he committed or not, the man remained a suspect. That's why he ran away to Dubai. Then he smuggled him back to the country, promoted him, and planted him in the office there. And then the thing exploded in your face. And a diligent woman, head of service, went to the president, said to him, this thing that these people have done will backfire because of your anti-corruption crusade. That lady had courage to do that. I don't know how many people who surround the president show such courage. And it has exploded in the president's face. People are talking about minor gate. They can't look at the man. People are talking in hushed tones. It's disrespectful for the president. They have really thoroughly messed him. I personally do not think that the president knows a lot of what goes on behind his back.
But isn't that a minus, that we would have a president who doesn't know a lot of the things going on behind his back?
A lot happens in Nigeria's presidency that the presidents do not actually know about. And they are fenced around by psychophants and people who want to control him and control power. When General Gowon was the head of state, there was a day he wanted to make a phone call. And he called NITEL and gave them the number he wanted to call. And NITEL asked him for his own number. He did not know. because they didn't allow him to know the number. Yes, so they do that. They do a lot of these things. Sometimes during President Jonathan's time, I booked an appointment to see him. He gave me an appointment for 8 p.m. I went into Abuja in the afternoon and I started calling to confirm that I was around. I didn't get to see him. The next day, I calling my contacts and said, "What's happening? Please tell the president that I've been here since yesterday." He eventually saw me. I got to know that someone in his office said that, okay, the president cannot meet him because the president is very busy. Jonathan hit the roof. He said, "I gave somebody an appointment and you are telling me I was too busy to see him. You didn't tell me, you didn't get permission from me." And the man would think that I'm a nasty person.
Yes.
I gave him an appointment and I didn't see him. It happens almost all the time. In Shagari's time, they used to, Ahmed and Marudiko would be the last persons to see him. They would allow every other person to see him. They will have the last word and go home, just to be sure that the other people...
They're controlling what he hears and what he knows.
And he hears the last word from them.
Yes.
Even in Obasanjo's time, as tough as this man is, one day I went to see him. One of the big people in his government were there with him. And I said to Mr. President, I don't have your telephone number, and I've been trying to reach you. Can I have your number, please? So the guy who was the very important person in that government, he said, "Okay, I'll give you the number." He read out some numbers. And when he left, the president said to me, "You can never reach me on those numbers. Those are general switchboard numbers. I'll give you my numbers." He gave me a direct number and he gave me his bedroom number. So that is how they build a fence around the leaders.
Yes.
I am sure that there's a bigger fence around Buhari. Even to read the newspapers, some of them, including governors, the people who manage them, they take the newspapers, they mark the ones that they think he should read.
Yes.
And if there is a story that they don't want him to read, they exclude it.
They remove the paper.
They remove the paper. They remove that paper. Some of them just summarize the story of the day and they remove the bad stories.
Yes.
So there are several ways that they manipulate presidents and governors in Nigeria.
Okay, but you talked about the president's strategy of blood being thicker than water, that one's countrymen will protect one's interest and do one's bidding. What is so wrong with appointing those that one is comfortable with? I mean, we've also seen it with the United States President Donald Trump, appointing his son-in-law, appointing his daughter, appointing people he's comfortable with, he's been working with for many years, especially if we're talking about security. Why can't he stick with those that he's comfortable with, even if they're from his side of the country?
Well, the point is that we have in the Nigerian Constitution something called Federal Character Commission.
Yes.
And the Federal Character Commission is supposed to create an equal opportunity platform for people in all parts of the country.
Yes.
Because this is a multicultural, multi-ethnic country. So that would be a violation of the provisions of the Federal Character Commission. The rules enunciated by the Federal Character Commission is that in every government ministry, parastatal or whatever, every state must have at least 2.5% of the staff, between 2.5 and 3%. You must strive to do that.
Yes.
Above 3% is excess, below 3% is not acceptable. So in that kind of situation, if a president does that, then it's a violation of that. Okay,
so when we see the defense minister, interior minister, the national security advisor, chief of army staff, the director general of the DSS, the inspector general of police, the director general of the Nigeria Intelligence Agency, all from the north, that is a violation of the constitution.
It is a violation.
But in spite of these concerns that you've raised, is the president's legacy not bolstered by his achievements in the corruption war, blocking of looting, exposing all that we've discovered from the past administration?
Yeah, sure, he has. He's made some minor achievements, I would call it minor achievements.
Yes.
Those revelations are only limited to the opposition party, and that's what it becomes a problem for him.
Yes.
I don't care who is involved. If you want to fight corruption, fight it without making any discrimination. If you discriminate and select some people and keep them aside and say they are untouchable, it affects the credibility of that pursuit.
What about...
See, that's why people are jumping to join APC.
But what about the argument that, look, this is the first time we've actually seen real fighting of the corruption. Can't we just take what we get for now? You know, when another party comes in, that party can face members of the APC.
No, that's not a valid argument. Even though I've said to myself, I don't mind if it's only PDP people that it is pursuing.
Yes.
I keep saying to myself, if he exhausts the list of the opposition, we will continue to pursue him to bring the people in his party on trial. And the public is there. That is why they pushed him into getting the secretary to the government of the federation retired. I mean, the public is there to ensure that, yes, it's a good project. You took it upon yourself. There's enormous corruption, which is ruining the country. Go ahead and pursue it. If you want to pursue it without having friends and so on, the public will be clapping for you. This country has been partially destroyed by corruption. He says $150 billion have been squirreled away. I am certain that that money is much bigger than
much more than that.
That is what he has been able to locate.
Yes.
And even the ones who will be located, they are better looked, for instance. You know, the different countries tell us the reason they are not releasing the money is, okay, tell us what you are going to do with it. We are sure that this money will be restolen.
Relooted.
You are telling a sovereign country that. That's a big insult. But we put ourselves in that kind of situation. So it's a whole mess. At every point, Nigerians should support the president on it. Whether he's fighting it well or not, that is fighting it at all is a plus for him. But if he had chosen to expand it and say no friends, no foe, he would have got a lot of plaudits from the public.
Join us again after the break. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajetunmobi. On my hot seat today, veteran journalist EKPU. You actually started that article by taking us through a history of President Buhari, his military training that took him from Nigeria to the United Kingdom, to India, to the United States, and how that history made Nigerians believe that he would actually rescue the Chibok girls and tackle insecurity effectively. Do you concede, though, that some progress has been made as far as those two issues are concerned, tackling insecurity and recovering the Chibok girls?
Yeah, thank you. The reason I traced his military background was because the people were comparing him with President Jonathan, who doesn't have any military background, who couldn't rescue the Chibok girls and didn't tackle security effectively. So people said, well, this is a man with a military background, well trained and tough and so on. He earned his plaudits from the war in the Congo and war in Nigeria, and he fought the Maitacini riots to a standstill and so on. This information was a strong recommendation for him that he has the technical know-how, wherewithal to deal with security issues. And of course, people remember how he dealt with allegedly corrupt people in his first incarnation.
In 1985.
Yes, as a military leader.
Yeah.
So they thought, okay, he will bring the same gusto, the same temperament to the handling of corruption issues. The Chibok girls issue It's complicated. So many young girls, nobody knows where they've been camped and whether they've been dispersed to different parts of the country or the world. So that paucity of information in the first place is a hindrance. And then secondly, it is not an issue that you say, okay, we send commandos to come and fight and rescue them, because you don't even know where they are and they are scattered. So that option is ruled out. And I wrote in one of my articles that people who are saying that the government should not negotiate with these people are unkind, are unpatriotic. For me, the government should negotiate with anybody and everybody who's involved if that negotiation can mean a release of the girls.
Yes.
Say to them, if the girls were your own children, would you say, oh, our principle is that we cannot negotiate with terrorists?
Yes.
Even Americans and British, they negotiate for the release of their own children. I remember some years ago, Bill Clinton had to go to North Korea to get an American who was detained, charged with espionage.
Yes.
And this happens all the time. Sometimes they do it quietly and nobody knows. So for me, the strategy of negotiating with them, paying money or releasing the terrorists they have in their custody in exchange is fine. And I think we should continue along that path.
Yes.
So far, he's done well. I don't care what the others say about it. There are not many options. If you want to use arms, you will kill the girls, even if you know where they are.
Yeah.
Those people will use them as shields anyway. So nobody has a foolproof strategy on that.
Yes.
It is for Nigerians to be patient and for him to continue using the people he's using to negotiate. If he needs to pay more money, he pays and they release those girls.
Yes. One of the other points that you made, you said that the president gave instructions to fish out and bring to justice those who are behind the herdsmen attacks. Let's talk about those herdsmen attacks. Do you think that the president agrees or tacitly supports the reluctance of his countrymen who are in security to punish their kin who are causing mayhem in the country?
See, that's the problem. It's not giving instructions that is the issue. You must follow up. There must be a follow-up. You must ensure that your instructions are obeyed. If they are not obeyed, somebody is punished.
Right.
He hasn't done that. It's not the first time this crisis has arisen.
I mean, the herdsman is not a new thing under Buhari. It's been there for years.
Yes. The Ajetunmobi issue in Benue State, they burned down so many houses. It was a deserted village. People left and killed people. Nothing. Nobody has been arrested. Nobody has been tried. And the president just gave instruction to them. So that is the issue. People are saying, is he complicit? Why is he looking the other way? Why doesn't he ensure that his instructions are obeyed? And that if they are not obeyed, he punishes somebody who is supposed to carry out this instruction. That what leaves the doubt about his sincerity in pursuing the matter. I personally think it's just weak. It's a matter of political will. And maybe at the back of his mind he's saying, oh, these are my people. And so he's a cow farmer. So there is that sentiment. He's a Fulani man. So probably there is that sentiment. But as president, I expect him to rise above those sentiments. And I think many Nigerians expect him. It's painful.
Could it be a lack of capacity? You know, I'm thinking even you as editor-in-chief or the boss in Newswatch, you give instructions and your instructions are not carried out. Could it be that the people he has instructed to do this lack the capacity to deliver on those instructions? And if they lack the capacity, what should he do?
You need a strong-willed leader. You talk about Newswatch. You know, I had an in-law, a guy who was married to my younger sister, and we employed him as the deputy marketing manager. And we told him these products must be sold in cash, not on credit. He piled up credit for about 4 weeks. He was married to my sister. I fired him. I fired him from Newswatch. After I fired him, his relations came to my office to say, why did I do this to this man? But he's my in-law. I threw them out of my office. I said, when this man didn't have a job, you didn't give him a job. When he got this job, I said to him, you must be careful. This is the rule. That is how we operate. If I didn't fire him, the board will fire me. And I will look stupid as a businessman. I allow people to just steal the money. So you need at a certain point as a leader to do the unthinkable. he hasn't risen to that occasion.
Yes.
I'm afraid. That's the point.
As far as the herdsmen are concerned, I have two experiences. In 2013, I witnessed the governor then in Delta State, Emmanuel Dwara, dealing with the matter of herdsmen in his state. Also, Governor Fayemi in Ekiti in 2014, we were preparing to interview him. He was summoned, called by the Commissioner of Police saying, look, these herdsmen have started again. So herdsmen have been there since 2013, since 2014. Why do you think people are tying in these herdsmen with the president's ethnic background at this time, if it's a problem that has been in existence before he came into office?
It's been there, but I think they have seized the opportunity of a Fulani man being in power,
yes,
of a farmer, he's a cow farmer too, being in power and saying to themselves, now we have our own man, we can do whatever we want to do. They've been rampaging, they've been going south, apparently because of desertification, which has deprived them of grass and water and so on. But you see, even before now, the governments in the past should have thought of a more comprehensive and holistic policy to deal with this problem. They are going to various states in the south now. Somebody sent me a text message and saying they're trying to occupy various places in Akwa Ibom State.
Yes.
Am I aware of it? Am I saying something or something?
Yes.
So they are going to a number of states. Those states, particularly states in the southeast and south, do not have land. The population density in those parts is very high.
Yes.
So they don't even have enough land. But I think the government ought to take a comprehensive look at it and call a meeting of stakeholders, call the governors, call local government people and say, how do we deal with a problem like this? The present policy of talking about colonies or colonization is not going to work.
Why not?
Why it won't work is because you are uniformalizing it. You don't make a policy like that uniform, because different states, different areas have different cultural dispositions towards this. So you say to some states, do you want colonies, or do you want ranches, or do you want people to just pay for land and do whatever they want to do? So you have different policies to meet different areas. Well, when you say colonies, and they did not even discuss some of the state governors. You can hear 17 governors in the south are saying, no, we don't have land. We're not interested in being colonized.
Yes.
And people talk about colonization.
Yes.
The word itself is repulsive.
Should the word be ranches rather than colonies?
Yes, the word is repulsive, colony. And you know, when you use a word like colony, the Middle Belt have always been opposed to Hausa Fulani domination.
Yes.
Went to Benue State some years ago. We went by road, and somewhere we then saw a big signboard, welcome to the Middle Belt. That said something to me. I mean, not Central, it's Middle Belt.
Yes. But
they chose to call themselves Middle Belt. A big signboard, welcome to the Middle Belt. So that said to me that these people are rejecting the idea of being called North. Because the hardcore northerners, north, south, north, east and northwest, despise them.
Yes.
And even when Obasanjo gave them some positions in the army, they were saying, these people are not called North. So there is that resentment, there is that
resistance.
Yes, that's why you have all this settler indigent problem in Plateau and Benue and some of the other states, Taraba, some of the other states in North Central. So that is the height of it. And then when you come with people coming to destroy people's crops and so on, that is the limit. It evokes some serious passion about conquest and domination.
Shouldn't people who own these cattle be punished? And the reason I said that is I interviewed the Minister for Agriculture, and my understanding is that cows that roam are not exactly healthy. The best cows are majestic and like to stay in one place. That is why you see the cows roaming, looking very lean.
Yeah.
You know, so the owners of these cows, don't they know that? Why are they allowing people to roam the country with these cows? I remember when the minister said they were going to import grasses and there was an uproar.
What they're doing is an anachronistic approach to cow farming.
Yes.
All of that had changed a long time ago in many places.
Yes.
The ranching is the issue. My father used to breed goats and sheep, and he would buy land, fence around it,
yes,
and keep them there. They were not allowed to roam. And we would go to the bush and cut grass and bring.
Yes.
We'll fetch water and come and keep for the sheep and the goats, because there was shifting cultivation, so there was always land,
yes,
where there is grass and so on. That worked. They didn't allow the goats to go and destroy other people's crops. That's the cause of this conflict. Look at, they went and burned down Olufalaye's farm.
Yeah.
That's the second time or third time they kidnapped him,
yes,
and so on. That is the node of an outlaw, and it should not be allowed in any society. I listened to Buhari telling the Benue people, be accommodating to your fellow Nigerians and so on. That is not the solution. Yes, accommodation, but you can't accommodate people who are coming to your territory with AK-47. We've seen these people before. They just carry the stick,
one stick, yes,
and a pouch where they put money, they put water and so on.
Are they real herdsmen if they are carrying AK-47s?
Who bought it for them? And why are they carrying AK-47?
Are they real herdsmen? Could they not be pretending to be herdsmen, but people with a different agenda in their minds?
It is possible. It is possible. Because I don't know. They never used to carry AK-47. Maybe they carry it to protect themselves wherever they go.
Yes.
But the thought of you going into somebody's farmland and destroying it with such audacity,
yes,
and saying, if you want to make trouble, I shoot you,
yes,
or I kill you, is objectionable in any society. You are doing your own business. The crop farmer or cash crop farmer is doing his own business.
Yes.
Why should one businessman destroy the other person's business? It's unacceptable.
I do agree with you that sometimes one expects the president to visit these areas, you know, where we have deaths arising from these herdsmen. In 2017 alone, in January, we had 10 deaths in Delta State, 40 deaths in Adamawa State, Niger State 4 persons, Benue State 15 persons. That's in the month of January alone of 2017. Yeah. But if the Inspector General of Police or any federal minister or any governor is sent by the president to visit these places after these mayhem occurs, isn't that enough?
The president should visit, not just the governor. The president is the president of the country.
Are there no security concerns? You know, sometimes the president wants to do something and his security people say, you know, we don't consider it to be safe enough for you.
You can defy the security people. The president needs courage over and above the courage that other people exhibit.
Yes.
George Bush Jr. went to Iraq in the heat of the crisis. He was halfway through the journey when he called his wife.
From the plane?
Yes, from the plane, and said, I'm going to Iraq. The woman broke down, she cried. But he went, surprise visit, only a few people knew, and he was there, spent a day with the soldiers.
To photographs.
Serving them food and so on.
Yes.
That is symbolism. The leader has shown that he supports his troops. He's one of them. He admires them. He is happy with what they are doing.
Yes.
Share symbolism. Obama went to Afghanistan. He said, we don't have to announce to the whole world. But the failure of leadership that Jonathan did not go to Chibok. You think the Boko Haram people were waiting for him in Chibok? I would have gone there the next day to show my face. It's symbolism. So Buhari has failed in that respect.
Yes.
Where there is a massive disaster, you go there. Look at Trump. For whatever people are saying, anyway, there is a problem. He shows his face there, whether people like him or not. That is leadership. We've had all kinds of big explosions. We had something in the Navy that killed so many people. I think gas explosion or something.
Yes.
That killed 30-something or 40-something people. It's not enough for one of the higher hands to issue a statement and say the president said this, this. But I've said it becomes mechanical. It doesn't have a lot of meaning. The president with his own voice should go on television and make an announcement and speak to the nation. And you will see the impact, the authority of his office he brings to it.
Yeah.
Then the presidential aura comes with it. Not some yama press release issued on his behalf. It's not enough. So it doesn't cost money. It doesn't cost anything to show that you are concerned. You are a compassionate president. Many Nigerian presidents is not peculiar to Buhari, but his own is extreme now. Babangida used to make phone calls. I'm not sure this man makes phone calls. He does like somebody 70 or 80, a prominent person that you could call, 1 minute call.
And say happy birthday.
A lot different. Oh, I wish you a happy birthday. New Year's Day. You have a list that you can call. Prominent people you haven't spoken to in a long time. It makes a lot of impact. Somebody will say, you will call me. The president called me. That will be the talk around some people. One day, President Ibrahim Babangida called me on Christmas Day. I said, who is this? He said, Ibrahim Babangida. I said, who is this person joking, trying to joke on me? Which Ibrahim Babangida is? The president. I recognize his voice. I said, oh, I was stammering. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That is impactful. It doesn't matter whether you like the president or you don't like him. He calls you. Out of 100 and something million people, he calls you. And one day, the day after my last daughter's wedding, Abdul Salami Abubakar called me and said, Ray, what are you doing? Why did you do this to me? I said, what happened, sir? He said, you gave our daughter out without inviting me. I said, sir, I didn't want to invite you. I didn't think it was necessary to do. He said, no. I would have come. If I couldn't come, I would have sent a powerful delegation. I apologize to you. You know that the impact of that to me, an ordinary citizen, the president remembers me and calls me. I'm not a politician, I'm not a kingmaker, I'm not a decision maker in that sphere. So these people don't know. It's awful public relations, the way they're managing this man's government. If you don't want to call, write a nice letter. If you like, handwritten letter, put your signature on it and send to somebody. Don't type it, just handwritten, 2-paragraph letter, sign it. The person will frame it and put it somewhere. It's not magic. But he surrounds himself with people who have no idea about how these things be done. All they are doing is to build an iron fence around him, so nobody of ideas comes near. Nobody brings new ideas into the system. Say, no, they have had that time, we do our own. That is a tragedy. We do our own. There is an obvious disdain for new ideas in the system, and it's ideas that move society.
Join us again after the break. Welcome back. My concluding moments now with Ray Ekpo. You say ideas is what moves.
Disdain for ideas.
Yes.
I feel so. Because if you are assembling people whose ideas are already very well known, there is a disdain for new ideas. When he spent 6 months to assemble his cabinet, I thought, okay, it's definitely time. He wants to find some whiz-kids somewhere, people who have done magical things in the diaspora, or people with hidden talents in Nigeria, and he's going to give us a great team.
Yes.
And they brought out the team, and there's no name that we didn't know. At least those of us who have been in the public sphere, there was no surprise. I said, 6 months, and there are no surprises. If you at least should have gone to America to pick some of the whiz-kids that we have there, or search around the country to find some innovative people and put in your cabinet.
Yes.
That, to me, was evidence that it's not interested in new ideas. People with exciting ideas. Additional. Who brought addition? I don't know. Came and created something in the fertilizer, something, the wallet, something in agriculture. That changed the face of agriculture. And then Obasanjo went and found Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala from the World Bank and brought her. And she came up with the idea of paying off Nigeria's debts. And they paid it off. Now we pile up the debts again. That is number one. Number two, I thought of the National Conference, 2014 National Conference.
Yes.
I was a member of that conference, and I saw how much work was put in by all the groups for 4 months. We spoke to experts from abroad. We spoke to Nigerian experts in every field. retired permanent secretaries, serving permanent secretaries, chief executives of various companies and so on. So I consider the 26th volume a compendium that you cannot find anywhere on this planet about Nigeria as of today. You can't find anything that is more than that. About 20 professors, different groups of people, 470 something heads. And the first group that Jonathan did to find out whether Nigerians wanted a national conference, they went around the country and compiled documents, which were presentations by Nigerians from all walks of life. Those are part of the documents. All the documents of the past conferences, decisions were given to us. So we did a distillation of the past and added what we had now, and somebody would so and say, oh, that conference was job for the boys. Isn't that silly? Job for the boys. You haven't looked at it. Tons of information up till today. I still look at it. The reports of the various committees, authorities on various fields. And people say, oh no, it was set up by Jonathan. So you can't look at it. If I were in charge, I would check it, steal the information and use it. If I have to use it,
and pretend that you didn't get it from there. Yes.
So if you don't want a level to say you were using information that your predecessor arranged, you steal it and use it for the benefit of the country. But to say, I don't have time to look at it. What do you have time for?
I can't let you go without talking about the latest letter from our former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, and the issues that he has raised in that letter. I'll just go through the issues one by one. He says he's disappointed with the president's performance. He thought he would appoint qualified hands in the areas where the president was weak. He says the president has turned a blind eye to corruption within his government. He has a poor understanding of the dynamics of internal politics. He plays a blame game and he never takes responsibility. I've looked at reactions, especially on social media. Do you think the former president has a moral right to call anyone to order, especially this president? And do you not think it's taking things too far by asking an incumbent who has a constitutional right to seek re-election for a second term not to do so?
Well, he's just expressing his own opinion. And he said in that statement that he does not expect, he's not saying that President Buhari must accept his advice.
Yes.
But his voice is a weighty voice, a resonant voice in Nigerian affairs, because he's been a military head of state, he's been a two-term president in a civilian administration. He's respected around the world. He's on a first-name basis with world leaders. He still does some things for the United Nations, for African Union and ECOWAS. So that is the voice of an oracle, if you like it, in Nigerian affairs. Number two, this man disdained his party and supported Buhari and stood firmly behind him and said that he was sure that Buhari would do better than Jonathan. Even at that time, he said that his weaknesses would be in the economy, management of the economy, and in foreign affairs. But that he's sure he will fight corruption vigorously and he will deal with insecurity very well. So his main point now is that on those two issues that he thought the man had a lot of strength, he has shown a lot of weakness. And that he doesn't think he should go for a second term, considering the fact that he's just recovered from this long trip and it's not sure whether he's fully recovered, and the fact that age has taken a toll on him. Don't forget, he is the only person who has run Nigeria at the age of 70. Yes, nobody else had been president of Nigeria at the age of 70. And the combination of poor health and age take a toll on him. And I also think that even the fact that the president takes a long time to take these decisions, 6 months to form his cabinet, 2 years plus to appoint chairman of boards and so on. And passed it off. As we speak now, it's not given any national honor, and it's 2 years plus. So a number of other things. And he himself said that he's locked up in the villa, it takes time to look at things and so on. I think that that is partly one of the triggers, maybe for Obasanjo. That's the last stroke that broke the camel's back. So Obasanjo said in his statement that running Nigeria is a 25/7 thing, 25 hours in 7 days, not 24.
Yes.
Which is true, judging by the way he himself used to work. But Buhari is not capable of that, and that slows things down. It is an advice.
Yes.
Buhari may reject it. The people surrounding him will say, well, he had his time, he can say whatever he does, whatever he wants. But I think that he's saying what a number of Nigerians are not saying.
Yeah.
The only difference I see is that, one, he says the man shouldn't take a second term. Two, he has rubbished the two main parties and says there must be a third force. And there are about two groups already talking about a third force, and they're working, holding meetings here and there, which means that Obasanjo is not alone. The other thinking people in Nigeria are worried about the drift of this government, about the drift of the economy, about the drift in security, about the level of corruption and the exemptions that the president is making. People are already talking about election instead of dealing with the problems. This is a country that talks more about politicking rather than governance.
Yes.
People are crying. People lost 73 people, and some people had the temerity to tell Nigerians, we don't care. We don't care what happens. We're asking the president to run. We are politicians. We are politicians. Hey, such insensitivity. And people are going to vote for such characters. You will never have that in any other. You are
referring to the statement of the governor of Kaduna State.
The state governors.
Yes, that
led by the governor of Kaduna State. And meanwhile, were killing people in his own state. He left the state to come and hang around Abuja.
Is it an excuse for them to say that event had been previously planned?
What event? If it had already been planned, you cancel it.
Yes.
Because there was something that happened that was important.
Of overriding interest.
Of course, of course.
Is it a factor, though, that some people allude to, that this president has overcompensated by being over-democratized? In other words, trying to dispel that notion that a lot of people have of him as a military dictator.
Oh, it's possible. It's entirely possible that it's gone to the other extreme.
Yes.
When we interviewed it some time ago and we talked about the past, they said, no, I'm a born-again Democrat. So it is possible he's moved from being an autocrat to being an extreme Democrat. But I don't think that is exactly correct, because it's not a lot of infringements in rule of law. All the courts, Dasuki, El Zazaki, Kano, and so on, he just refused to. The court said, release these people. He refused. They went all the way to the ECOWAS court. The ECOWAS court made the damning pronouncement on Nigeria is refused. So that's infringement of rule of law. So those who say it's gone to the other extreme are only partially correct, because for the things he doesn't want to do, he just doesn't do.
Do you think he should contest for a second term in 2019?
I don't think so. The record does not warrant that, and I don't think that we need a 78-year-old man as president in today's Nigeria.
But you know the other side. If he doesn't contest in 2019 and a new northerner emerges as president, that would be a new northerner seeking a fresh 8 years, which means the presidency will retain in the north for 12 years.
It doesn't matter to me. I'm not worried about these ships going to the north, going to the south.
Yes.
And I'm sure that many Nigerians who think like me do not want to worry about where the president comes from. If the president delivers and we are all happy, our children are happy, that is the country we would like to have. If a president comes from your own part of the country, what does he do for you? He may not even remember you.
Yes.
Jonathan, what did he do for the Niger Delta people? They are all crying now. But okay, some of them felt, we're happy. At least they remembered us. They made one of our own president. But he didn't do much. In fact, I would say anything for the Niger Delta people. Even the road to his own Bayelsa is still bad. So if the presidency is going to stay in the north for 12 years, I don't worry about it, provided we get it right. Choose the right person and the country moves. Okay. It's the politicians who are worried about president coming here or the presidency going there. Oh, it's our turn. The ordinary Nigerian doesn't want a country that is like this. The World Health Organization in its 2015 report puts Nigeria at number 30 in the world suicide ranking, and that is devastating.
And on a final note, Mr. Ekpo, since you left Newswatch, now you're a columnist with the Guardian newspapers here in Nigeria.
Yes.
What else do you do?
We publish books, all sorts of books, biographies, textbooks, professional books, in journalism and other subjects. Okay, sorry. Dana Bese, Yakubu Mohammed, Soji Akinade, and myself, who came from Newswatch, we're back there together and doing book publishing. And we also do media training of media people, and that's it. It keeps us going. Those ones are a little less taxing than doing a daily newspaper or a weekly magazine. So we pace ourselves because we're all old people now.
You don't look old. Thank you very much for
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And thank you for watching. I'm Angela Ajetunmobi.